defendant's play was too good to be true. It's April 19, 2024. And the defendant, AJ Belito, is one of 10 people sitting at the poker table inside the Paris, Las Vegas. At stake, $15 million at the world's most exclusive poker tournament. The defendant eliminates players to his right and to his left. 1 hour later, the defendant eliminates other players to his right and to his left. The first 4 players are out, and each of them sitting next to the defendant. Why? Because the defendant not only knew his cards, but he knew their cards too. Now, today is a privilege to represent the Paris Las Vegas Hotel. And I'd like to introduce to you Lee Bowles, the gaming director inside the Paris. Now, the Paris Las Vegas is famous for hosting one of the world's most exclusive and high-stakes poker tournaments in the world, the Belt. And I have the burden of proving that this defendant, more likely than not, committed gambling fraud. It means I need to prove that this defendant committed a fraudulent act while gambling. And I will prove that this defendant is responsible by looking at his actions before the tournament, during the tournament, and after the tournament. So let's look at before the tournament. Now, you will hear from the defendant, and he will tell you that in order for him to play in the Belt, he demanded that Robert Little be the dealer, that Robert Little provide the supplies, and that the prize money had to be doubled. Now, these are all things that's usually decided by the casinos in order to avoid cheating. Yet the defendant demanded them anyways. So now let's look at second, during the tournament. You will also hear from the runner-up, Jared Rosenblatt, and he will tell you that the defendant only played against those players nearest to him. Only those close enough for the defendant to look at the backs of their cards. Turns out, the cards that were provided by Little were marked. Meaning the defendant knew the suit and the value just from looking the backs of their cards. And when the decks were switched, the defendant started losing. He needed to change his strategy. You will also hear that the defendant kept adjusting his glasses. And while the defendant adjusted his glasses, Robert Little dealt the defendant the best cards at the most critical moments. Well, let's look at what happened after the tournament. Now, you will hear that the defendant tipped Robert Little $50,000. It's normal. You will also hear that the defendant wired Robert Little $750,000 to his personal account days after the tournament. Now that's suspicious. And where's Robert Little? He disappeared. So I ask you to come to the only verdict consistent with the law and your common sense. Defendant is liable.